Hey, I'm Eric Keach. I'm here with Jacqueline Shaullis, and she is another amazing, amazing client of Julianne Turner's, and she's here to share her story, and it's actually a really amazing story. She's seen not only some amazing results and transformation in her lives, but she has some really good pointers and tips of what it's like actually working with Julianne. So, Jacqueline, thank you so much for taking the time today to come on and share your story. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, so let's kind of step back a little bit. I'm curious. Where were you? Like, what was it that you were trying to accomplish that eventually ended up leading you to working with Julianne?
Well, it started off with me just feeling this urge that I'm meant to do more with my life. At the time, I wasn't doing bad. I was doing pretty well. I was the head of communications for my group. I was doing project management, and a fairly large investment bank. Um, Nice salary, got benefits, all the cushy stuff, but it just was not fulfilling. And not only was it not fulfilling, I knew that I was meant to do something much bigger with my life that had nothing to do with anything that I was doing. And so I spent several years trying to figure out kind of what is this? Seeing this huge vision of where I'm meant to be, speaking in front of tens of thousands of people, having an entire empire when I'm at my cubicle, like making sure that communication is going out properly for this firm is night and day. And so I spent like maybe 4 or 5 years just reading personal development books, going to different coaches, trying different programs, just trying to find like what was that thing to kind of put me over. And I happened upon Julianne. Like during that search, I happened upon her. And so just before I met her, I had spent, oh gosh, probably over 5 figures. I had spent on just between books, between workshops, seminars, having different coaches, lots of money that I spent just trying to find what was that thing. I could see what I wanted for myself, and I could see, of course, where I was, and there was a huge gap between those two. And I knew if I just needed, like, I could just find like that person or that thing or that there was something that was missing. If I could just get that something, I knew it would be able to take me over the edge. And that's the point where I met Julianne, and she was that thing that
Right.
I needed.
Okay. So you knew you were meant for something more, but you didn't know exactly what it was. Like you could see the end result, like you knew what you wanted, but you were here and you just didn't know really what it was. So there wasn't a clarity on like what you were really going to be doing.
Absolutely. I could see the huge picture, but going from this massive vision to what is even step one? I don't know. Like, I have no clue. I don't know what step one is, let alone 20 or 30. I know without a doubt I'm meant to do this. I know without a doubt I will do this. How I'm going to do it, when is it going to happen, how is it going to play out, what even is this? Big question mark. No clue. And so that's where I needed someone just to help me to sift through not only this huge vision, but where do I even start with this? Like, this is a huge calling, and I know it will happen.
Right.
Where do I start?
Right. And so
And
during this process, you spent the years looking for the person, right? Looking for Julianne,
yes,
spending the money all the time while you're working at this job, obviously supporting yourself, family, doing things, but you probably weren't that happy there either.
no, I was miserable. It
Mm.
was it got to the point where there was such a disconnect between my perfect on paper life and like my vision of myself. I was falling apart. Like I was literally falling apart. My health was deteriorating. It was putting such a strain on my marriage because I was so anxious and like frustrated even because I knew that there was something missing and I can't figure it out. And my poor husband, of course, he can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. How is he going to figure it out? It was just putting a strain on everything in my life and even in my workplace. Even though I was doing well, I was in a great position. I felt like I should be grateful to be in this position. Like who wouldn't want to like have this prestigious title?
Right.
And but it wasn't satisfying,
Yeah.
and it literally felt like every day I was dying a little bit because
Mm.
it was such a disconnect between where I wanted to go and where I was, and just not being able to connect those dots, and just that constant
Yeah.
frustration, that I think wore away more than anything.
Okay.
Kind of my confidence in being able to even succeed where I was already doing pretty damn good.
Right. Right. Okay. So you had this disconnect, and then finally you come across Julianne. You've got this vision of something. Explain, before we get to what Julianne was able to help you with, explain, once you met with her and started working with her, what's that process like? Like, what is it actually like to be working with her?
It was surprisingly easy. It was very straightforward. I went in because I had had experience with other coaches before, with other programs. I expected our first conversation, our first like personal conversation, to be like a like pushy sales pitch, grimy thing, and it was nothing of the sort. She was very calm, and just the energy that she brought was so like open and inviting, and it just made me feel so safe to share things with her that I hadn't shared with anyone else. And not because she specifically asked me those questions, it's just the way that she was able to frame the conversation. It gave me much more clarity in just that first conversation than I had had on my vision the previous 5 years or so, when I was spending all of this money. And that was just like a 45-minute chat. I mean, so the first conversation with her, um, everything that I kind of sensed about her when I attended one of her online webinars, and kind of it's like the love and the care, and definitely the knowledge and the intuitive nature, like all of that I sensed. I knew that all of that was correct when I actually had the conversation with her, as opposed to listening to her webinar. So it was a remarkably smooth, easy, very eye-opening experience. And honestly, even if I didn't work with her, if I had just had that conversation and just walked away, she put me much farther on my clarity in that one conversation than I had had in the past 5 years, spending like tens of thousands of dollars, just because of the questions that she asked and the space that she created for me to be honest with myself about the
Wow.
answers.
So you felt a shift immediately. You knew this was the right person. You started working with her, and I'm guessing that same type of experience stayed the same throughout the entire process of working with her.
Absolutely. I mean, the one of the greatest pleasures in working with her is that she's able to balance this really the intuitive nature of knowing what you need and where you need to be pushed. So she is not pushy, but she will push you, if that makes sense. She has a way of she'll walk with you, and she'll hold your hand to help you craft the vision of your life that you want. And then once you have that clear, she's very much about making sure that you are taking the steps that you need to get closer and closer to it. And even helping you to open up to other possibilities of how this can play out. Just along for the years that I've worked with her, it's been consistent. And because of that space that she creates, because of the way that she shows up, it's hard to put into words. Like, I don't know what she does. Like, I don't know what kind of fairy dust she has, but she's able to like just draw like the depths of knowing out of me
The
in the
parts that you
way
weren't able to see, she was able to pull out.
the parts that I wasn't able to see, and even parts that I knew, but I didn't want to admit to myself. Like, I didn't want to admit to myself that I actually can do this. Like, somehow it's easier to be safe. And she created a space where, I don't have to play small. Like, playing small isn't serving me, my family, or the people that need me. But do it in a way where it's not aggressive and pushy. It's just a simple, oh yeah, oh yeah, I guess I don't have to like do it the hard way. There is an easy way, and
Okay.
yeah, I can do it the easy way. This is consistent in the work that I've done with her. It's the way that she's able to just show up for you and hold that mirror up so that you can see the places that you either couldn't see before or you weren't willing to see before.
Right.
And as you're seeing that, kind of walk with you and gently guide you along, like, okay, you've seen this now. Where do you want to go? Okay,
Mm,
you want to go right? Let's go towards the right. You want to go towards the left? Let's go towards the left. Is it serving you to go to the left? Okay,
okay.
let's go. Yeah,
Okay. And
it's
so you've
amazing.
gone through this process and you've been with her for years. What are the results? Like, what has this amazing experience for you actually led to?
Um, Gosh, I mean, from a business side, my I left my corporate job, and that was huge. I didn't think that I would be able to. I thought I would surely die if I left my job and the comfort and safety of my job. But I left it because I had a plan in place. You know, she helped me create a strategy to where it was easy, it was in flow, it wasn't the trauma that I thought it would be. So that was huge. When I left my job, I started my own company with speaking and coaching. And because of the strategies we put in place, being able to find clients, it was simple. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it was simple. So being able to have consistent word of mouth clients that are coming in, being able to have companies to seek me, and invite me, not just here in the U.S. but around the world to seek my knowledge and seek my input. That was a dream of mine, and to have it actually come into play, tremendous. My family life, so much richer, because when Julianne is working with you, she's not just working with you on like just your business, or she really does take a holistic approach. And one of the things I really wanted was, just in my own like mind, was to have my family be a part of my business. I have a young son, I have a husband, and I wanted them to be a part of it. And she helped me to craft a way that I can incorporate my family into my business. And so now we're all working towards this company together. My business is just shy of 6 figures now. I've been a best-selling author, thanks to not only her example, but really her loving nudge. I'm starting a podcast in not too long. Just so many unfoldings, and more importantly, I think all of that's great. All of that's fantastic. But if there was one single thing that she taught me the most, it was being able to check into my own awareness, where I can trust myself with, I can trust my gut, in a way that I don't have to put the brakes on the good things. I can just continue with good and more good, and I can trust what comes up for me. It's like, okay, this means I go this direction. This means I go that direction. This means I need to stay put. And so that little, I mean, it's almost insignificant, but
Oh,
it's
that's pretty
everything.
big.
It's
Yeah.
everything. Because if you can just trust yourself in those little moments of awareness, it makes everything else just ebb and flow so much more easily.
Right.
And that, for me, that was the single biggest thing. That
Mm.
was the single thing. Everything else is great. Like, don't
Now,
get me wrong.
now I'm
It's all,
curious because people watching are going to be curious because in the beginning we talked about you knew you were meant for something bigger and we were hearing the results of what this something bigger is. But so what was this clarity? What is this vision? What is it that you actually are doing now?
so the vision that I had, you mentioned, is pretty big. I knew that I was meant to be the voice of my generation. I knew I was meant to speak in front of thousands, even tens of thousands of people around the world. I knew I was meant to have a book that is touching people globally, and have really an empire that goes into a variety of industries. Saw all of that very clear. Since then, a large part of that has actually come to fruition. I have given speeches, workshops, seminars on 5 continents and counting. I still have South America and Antarctica to cover. And being able to do that in a way where I can incorporate my family along with that. I'm giving talks in different parts of Asia, and my son and my husband are able to come with me. I'm giving talks here in North America, and my son is helping me to put together slides. These sort of little things that just, it brings together that vision. And again, being able to have companies that seek me out, that are requesting copies of my books to give to their emerging leaders, that are looking to come and be a part of my podcast while it's still in development. What? For me, it's
Right.
something that I always wanted and knew, but to actually have it to happen, it's still mind blowing. It's still, I'm really doing this. Like, I'm this crazy thing that I had in my head that was virtually impossible to happen. This is my normal, everyday, regular Tuesday life. You know, that those kinds of shifts are what's possible with her. Like being able to
Hmm.
get her clarity and her input and really her loving guidance to frame this out in a way that, yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
singing around the world, got the kid got tagging along, husband too. Yeah, no big deal. You know,
So,
everybody does it, right?
I mean, so it's almost, I mean, it's a silly question to ask, but so this has basically been life changing for you.
Absolutely. It's been nothing short of life changing
Mm.
because there were, like I said, even with the very first conversation that we had, I remember she was asking, she asked several questions, and they were very simple questions, but there was one that she asked me something about when I was a kid. I think like my vision when I was a kid, or like what were some of my childhood dreams. I answered it with whatever I said. Just, you know, you're a natural storyteller. You really flourish in telling stories. Oh, what? If me, the person who's like the project manager in an investment bank that's behind a computer like for 10 to 14 hours a day, like being a natural storyteller, like that, those two don't compute. But then when I like got over kind of my own self judgment of it, like, you know, that's really true. Like, how much of like this identity that's not me have I been just taking on just because, as opposed to really allowing who I know myself to be to really shine through? That was a
Yeah.
very basic question,
Hmm.
and from the very first conversation, she was able to provide that kind of awareness and like insight and something as simple as that, like knowing that that's something that comes through, and I know it for myself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
having someone else to validate it, it really allowed me to tap into that where I'm actually doing classes teaching other people how to tell their story. I'm teaching other people how to write books that are sharing their story in a way that it's not just adults. We just came back from teaching kids on how to share their own insight, that they as youth have wisdom. They're
Yeah.
not,
Pretty
they
cool.
don't have to wait until they're adults to
Hmm.
share their wisdom. Again, something that was in my heart to do, I never told anyone about it. And because of that care and guidance and real structure and like those loving nudges that I personally need, she was able to help me get to a point where I can do that. And I can
Okay.
receive that blessing and I can give that to other people.
Okay. All right. And so what I want to do now is we'll just shift gears. I want to wrap up. I just got a few more questions for you. And I guess the next question I'd have is, let's say someone is hearing your story. They're in the same position you were years ago, right? They're in that in between space, and they're really interested in thinking about working with Julian, but they're still on the fence. What would you want to tell that person? Say, you know what, she's probably the right person to work with.
I would say, if nothing else, have the first conversation with her. Because for me, the very first conversation that I had, she delivered so much value to me. If there's nothing else, that would be great. And the fact that she was able to consistently deliver that same level of care and concern and insight over and over again, not just for months, but for years, and continues to deliver that level of care and concern. It's something that you'll find that, as someone who has had coaches and programs and has experienced all of that, it is unique. The way that she shows up, it is absolutely unique. And the way that she is able to peel back the layers for you so that you can, and I take that back. She's not peeling back the layers for you. She's helping you to peel back your own layers. She's very much about creating the space for you to explore for yourself, and then being the loving hand that can either help support you where you've gone really deep and you just need an extra hand, or being that loving nudge to pull you in the direction that you need to go. Um, from the very first contact, she changed my life. And it has been consistent that she has delivered again and again and again and again so that I can show up better for myself, I
Mm,
can show up better for my family, and definitely for the people that I work with.
okay.
I would not have been able to show up at the same level had I not taken that leap to even have the first conversation with her, let
Okay.
alone work with her further.
Okay. Give me a few words or phrases that describe the type of person that she is. Obviously, she's a good coach and helping you, but a few words, just a couple that describe the type of person she is.
Loving, very loving, so caring, so empathetic. She's fun. She's funny, very funny, very creative, and very artistic in that it's almost like she paints with people, to put it in a way. Like
Yeah.
she's able to create so much with just you as a person, like just not as a coach, like that aside, but just as a person. She's amazing. I think amazing would be
Hmm.
the number one.
Okay. And then the last question that I have for you is, now let's say you've over time, right? You've built this relationship with her. She's helped you transform your life in so many ways, not just yours, but your family's as well. It sounds like you're much happier now. You're living on purpose, all these things. Let's say right now she decides she's turning off her phone, email, text, turns everything off, shuts her business down, and this is the last time that you could ever say anything to her. Knowing it's the last time, what would you want to say?
Hmm. I would want to say thank you, and thank you just seems inadequate because she has literally changed my life. She's changed the trajectory of my son's life. She's changed my family's life because she showed up, just because she showed up. So I would just want to say how much I appreciate her and how much gratitude I have for her. But like thank you, it seems so tiny. And when someone has absolutely changed your life, a whole other generation's life, let alone the people that you work with, thank you seems so, it's like thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just not monumental enough,
Mm-hmm.
um, to express the gratitude that I have for her.
Okay. Well, Jacqueline, amazing, amazing story to hear where you were in this corporate life, not just knowing something was bigger, and then finally seeing that you realize this, that you're on that trajectory, you're doing all these amazing things. I think it's an amazing story, and I really want to thank you for taking the time to come on, share that story, and I just want to wish you continued success moving forward.
Thank you so much.
All right, you take care.
All right, thanks.